Baldur's Gate 3 has been pushed near to its creative limit, and I wanted to push it to its physical limit, and make the already challenging honor mode difficulty an absolute nightmare. The title is not clickbait. Yes, I have made the game 10 times harder than its hardest difficulty, with several difficulty mods, because you love to see me suffer, and Legendary will always deliver. This mod pack makes every enemy have at least 5 times normal health, have a plus 5 bonus to attack, deal double damage on basically everything, have a plus 3 bonus to AC and spell saves, all enemies are in higher quantity, basically doubling the enemy count, and so many changes that the game has been transformed into a hellscape. So we're here to try and beat it. This is not the only changes that the mod pack makes to the game, which you'll soon see later in the video. This challenge allows for use of a full party, as you cannot make it past the first fight in the game solo, and trust me, I tried. This mod pack also randomizes all loot, so no items I usually use are in their natural locations, and the loot from enemies can be trash or life-saving. I'm also allowing myself to not be on single save honor mode to prevent this video from taking all year. So I hope you enjoy. You asked for this. When creating my character, I settled on a paladin for their ability to deal tons of damage with smites, and they have good savings throws, while giving us some good starting health. I needed a fitting name for this character. Yeah, that about sums how this challenge will end up. I looted a Mind Flayer's corpse and surprisingly found the Club of Hill Giant Strength, which is useless as our base weapon is better. We grab us along the way and meet Lae'zel in preparation for the first fight, which surely will be easy, right? Well, at least I know how the mod pack works. The normally trivial imps are an absolute nightmare, but one saving grace is that these changes also affect us, allowing it to keep a few of the imps busy while we slowly whittle at them. The fight that took me less than a minute to beat in my first playthrough took 20 minutes, and 3 total party kills, which I've decided to track as well during the video. But because the imps are now deadly, we had to use so many of our abilities and health potions to even survive the easiest fight in the game. Once the imps were defeated, we proceeded into the main room to free Shadowheart, and this is where the mod pack giveth, as we found a legendary sword added by the mod pack called Sanctum, which on his own is pretty overpowered. But just wait until the helm fight. The loot is massively randomized, that fighting everything will basically be mandatory. How bad could the first fight on the Nautiloid be? It's just like 4 enemies. Well shit, a war has broken out in the helm between an army of hell and a colony of illithids, so surely we can just reach the transponder no problem. Well, the biggest problem isn't actually Zalk, but his lieutenant, Seraith, who on her first turn summons a fire elemental and lights us all on fire. While most of the enemies focus on the illithids, Seraith always goes for us, and the extra damage also applies to burning, almost always killing one of us in the first turn of combat. The fire elemental also only targets the characters and us, basically guaranteeing that we die in a turn or two. And because Seraith has so much health, we cannot even kill her before we all die. I was game overed 13 times, almost all of them on turn 2, before one of the Mind Flayers came over to help to pull some aggro. Sanctum has a kind of sunbeam ability, and we're able to, after 3 hours, finally kill Seraith, and the elemental dies with her. This bought us enough time to reach the transponder and crash the ship, reaching level 3 after waking up. One of the Cambions had the Helm of Baldur, which we make sure to equip. Level 3 ends up granting us Divine Smite, our first massive power spike. We shave Shadowheart and fight some Intellect Devourers, which take all of our spell slots and 12 minutes to defeat given their sheer power. We also TPK'd 4 times. Also, for some reason, Sanctum plays the Divine Smite VFX and sound effects every time we use any action, despite doing absolutely nothing, and I don't know why. We needed some help, so we grabbed Astarion and Gale and leveled them up before taking on the bandits, where we get a sense of the madness to come, as the bandits, despite being a level lower than us, can basically one-shot us, and we almost TPK to them, despite killing one of them by the stone. Once the bandits were defeated, we returned to camp to rest. We need to get withers to optimize everyone's classes, but the second battle against the bandits wouldn't be easy. We made use of the door to make single attacks before closing it, because the enemies can't destroy the door. Eventually, we were able to use this strategy to take them out. In case you haven't noticed, cheesing encounters has been the only way I haven't been endlessly TPK'd. Sometimes I have been endlessly TPK'd. After killing the additional ghoul on the way to withers that the mod pack adds, which mostly consisted of my character dying every turn, we reached Wither's tomb. Gale also found a staff on one of the bandits that lets him summon 4 ghouls once per day. What's important is that when freeing Lae'zel, I forgot that killing the tieflings breaks a paladin's oath, and now I'm an oathbreaker. The Oathbreaker Knight also chills out in camp, which definitely won't have any serious problems later. We battled the skeletons in Wither's Tomb, and I only TPK twice, which is surprisingly better, as I usually have in previous fights, despite the fact that 2 additional skeletons were added. But it becomes obvious that any normally trivial enemies have become monstrosities. After another rest, we proceed to the Grove to bear witness to just how ridiculous the fights get. Thankfully, the adventurers are also affected by the difficulty, and are able to do most of the work. And though we lose a couple, the rest are able to help carry the fight and get us access to the Emerald Grove. We also get level 4 here, and the Rage Crit Urge takes Heavy Armor Master for damage reduction, and give ability score improvement to everyone else. We chat up the locals and trade with the shopkeeper, whose stock has also been randomized. Now sadly the glitch to take all the merchant's stock has been patched out, but soon we'll find a way to seal everything. Out in the wilderness, the mod gives us a taste of how brutal Faerun truly is. As on our way to the Blighted Village, our path is blocked by a 355 HP Minotaur, and below the Minotaur, a caged anomaly, or whatever the hell that thing is. We try to kill the anomaly, but the Minotaur spots us and begins annihilating us. I send Lae'zel away and watch in horror as my entire team is destroyed right before my eyes. But in a sheer move of stupidity, the Minotaur jumps down to Lae'zel and dies of fall damage, breaking combat. The Minotaur has some decent items, and because Lae'zel is now out of combat, she can sneak up and revive the rest of the party. Together, that allowed us to kill the anomaly because of its lack of flight and in it being in a position where it couldn't reach us. So while I'm killing this anomaly, why not subscribe to the channel? According to YouTube, apparently 0% of you guys watching are subscribed, which would mean if you subscribed, you'd basically be the first person to do it. I think this is some kind of glitch, so hit the subscribe button, will you? It's completely free and helps me get through everything I have to worry about IRL. And also, if you want to support the channel and all the dumb shit I do, why not become a member for access to posts, emotes, and early access to some of my new videos? Now, back to the video. Looting the corpses near the anomaly, we find a Steel Watcher crossbow that deals only lightning damage on a Steel Watcher corpse. The anomaly also has Auntie Ethel's hair? I'm not complaining. We need level 5 for our next biggest power spike. And this is where the real challenge begins. We snuck into the Blighted Village, and a scrawny bugbear almost one-shot the Rage Quit Urge before we killed it. We found Fowler aloof and gave it to Shadowheart, and went to Withers to respec almost all of my party members. Shadowheart became a life cleric to keep us all topped off and alive, while Astarion became an assassin rogue to deal any surprise damage possible. We ransacked the Blighted Village, and scared off Fezark and his gang to free Barkus. We make sure to grab the scroll to summon Shovel, and pass the mirror to get the necromancy of... Yeah, hooray for 30-minute combat encounters where we're in constant danger of dying against enemies I have no idea exist because of the mod pack. We're able to obtain the necromancy of Thay, and battle a squad of goblins outside Joaquin's Yeah, we absolutely got destroyed. Even at level 4, and being the master tactician I am, even the weakest enemies in normal play are ruinous. As when trying to reach Karlach, we stumble into the most disastrous fight of the playthrough, against these 5 gnolls, which also instantly aggroes 3 extra hyenas. And while gnoll hunters are already bad, how do you like them now? They are without a doubt our first target, as if they reach turn 3, they get a triple attack. The hyenas are mostly distracted by the ghouls Gale can summon, but when trying to kill an archer, Shadowheart accidentally aggroes the 6 other hyenas. Thanks to Sanctum and sneak attacks, we're able to kill 2 of the archers, and most of the other gnolls, but 1 archer remained, and in 1 turn dropped Shadowheart below half HP with only 2 attacks, and the Fang crits me to death. Most of our team is still up and can whittle down the current enemies. We have 4 newborn gnolls soon on the way. The battle quickly devolves into a desperate struggle to stay alive, as the gnolls down Shadowheart and the Rage Quit Urge gets down, and every turn, 1 party member gets downed, only for us to throw another potion at them to keep them alive. This proceeded for about 10 minutes, demolishing our stash of potions, but using a speed potion, we finally kill the final archer. And after another 3 minutes of endlessly being downed by the newborn gnolls, they soon follow, finally getting us to level 5, where the fighter characters get extra attack, and the others get more abilities. We make it to Karlach and bring her onto the team. With most of the things done in the area, we head toward the goblin camp after saving Flork from Joaquin's Rest. However, in order to get to Joaquin's Rest, we either have to go through the squad of goblins that dropped us in basically a few turns, or battle a giant force of goblins, drow, and ogres that are normally monstrous to deal with. But thankfully, the flaming fists, that are normally useless and objectively better off dead, help us in combat, allowing us to mostly emerge combat unscathed. This consisted of endless back and forth attacks, since at level 5 we can tank a bit. Flork is safe, and instead of the nice spell staff, she gives us the adamantine sword, something I will never use in my entire run. In fact, I don't think I'd use this in any Baldur's Gate playthrough. This definitely wasn't worth the 45-minute battle that just took place. But that wasn't the only reason I came to the end. I came to trade. We wandered the wilderness, fighting basically everything that wasn't already dead, including some brand new encounters that the mod pack adds. Some of the fights began to get pretty ridiculous, as we began to see enemies with upwards of 700 health, like this True Soul Ogre, and more Knoll Archers. We would soon need a way to massively cheese those fights. We then proceeded into the Goblin Camp, and entered the Inner Sanctum. We make sure to get branded by Gut in case it will prove useful later, and begin by taking out lone goblins before speaking to Abdurak for the Leviatar's love buff, which I would soon lose. Why? Because I can't have nice things. We ignore Gut and Ragslin, and begin combat by throwing the Scrying Eye into the nearby chasm to avoid fighting it. This is when we realize the sheer potential of throwing. What's the point in fighting small enemies with 100 health when they can just be thrown into the nearby convenient chasms and cliffs? We throw Scrut and Rozak into the pit, and it just leaves Minthara, who sadly is also affected by the difficulty, even though she's technically a companion. Damn it, the mod authors did their research. After getting beaten over and over by Minthara, I make sure to knock her out, as she has none of her items she usually carries. We get level 6 here, and unlock Aura of Protection. Helpful, given every enemy has a +5 bonus to spell save DC. We then go for Gut, and make sure to take the high ground before shooting the Hanging Brazier, dropping it down on her. This only brings her into combat, which is handy for us. But without a doubt, the MVP of this video is Hunger of Hadar, a spell that blinds enemies, halves their movement, and deals damage at the start and end of enemy's turn. So we almost always will have Will in our party. We use it to keep the goblins from joining combat, and wait out of Gut's line of sight, so she'll run up the ladder, allowing us to chuck her back down, instantly killing her. The other goblins with her are easily dealt with, as we're beginning to become stronger than the enemies, even without cheese strats. That just leaves Draw Ragslin, and before combat, we place a chest in front of every ladder except for the one which we destroy after climbing. In melee, Draw Ragslin is a monster, so we want to deal with him from range. We loot his vault and pick up the illithid Carapace armor, making us immune to being frightened and giving us a bonus to saves. Very helpful. We start the fight with a summoned zombie, which attacks one of the novices, grouping them together so that Will can use Hunger of Hadar. I thought Draw Ragslin couldn't get up, but the mod pack buffed him, and he has an unknown step, yes, that's literally what the spell is called, to teleport up to us. Thankfully, he dashed before doing so, and we shut him back down. That is very lucky, and the fight starts very well. We are in a precarious position, and a Void Bulb could completely kill my party to fault. What? Shadowheart gets downed, and the Rage Crit Urge almost dies as well. Shadowheart also doesn't aggro the spiders for some reason. Thanks to the chests blocking the ladders, the goblins have no way up. Oh shit, I forgot about that one. We're able to slowly eliminate the minions, but Draw Ragslin still has 359 max health. The spiders finally show up to be a pain in my ass, but Shadowheart is able to jump out of the pit, just as we finish Ragslin. That fight was hard, and the challenge is far from over. We return to the Grove and have a night of hard partying with Shadowheart, as I really appreciate a life cleric when the game is this hard to beat. Now is a good time to mention that Shadowheart's basically the only reason we are alive. We need a way into the Underdark, and we also want the Dark Amethyst in the Spider Cavern. Now might be a good time to mention that the mod pack also applies some buffs to enemies. Over half of them have Alert, all casters have Warcaster, and fighters almost all have Sentinel. Surprising enemies doesn't work half the time. We go for Auntie Ethel first, and sneak into her basement without her noticing. Using invisibility, we sneak past Ethel's servants, and use Jump and Featherball to get past the stupid poison traps that she loves setting up. This fight won't be that hard, right? We use invisibility to free Mayrina so we can get Connor later, and attack Ethel, causing her to summon her masked servants. They are not very strong, and, thankfully, can be shoved off cliffs. But I get reminded why Ethel is the most dangerous when she summons her clones. What spells do they have? Eye bite? Not only does Ethel have eye bite, but all her clones do too. This keeps almost all of our characters perpetually asleep. Thankfully, I had Shadowheart jump on an explosive flower to damage a clone, and remove the eye bite on Karlach. Once most of the clones had been destroyed, we swarmed Ethel, and began to whittle her down until she surrendered. We convinced her to give us her hair, and Mayrina, which we picked strength for. We grabbed Connor, and of course, keep the wand, leaving the swamps for good. We need to bring Gale into our party to perform a little exploit to get Raphael's 1400 XP. I also forgot that because this mod is super hard, apparently there's a feature in the mod pack that increases XP gains. Very helpful. This would stop being helpful later in the game. This is the same trick that Fracture used in his video, and yes, there is a better way to get the Helldusk armor. There's a more efficient way of doing this. Instead of killing Gale mid-cutscene and letting Raphael slowly die from necrosis, I just didn't know a better way at the time of recording. We had a non-lethal attack after about 3 hours of waiting, and Raphael vanishes, which will allow us to get the Helldusk armor later. Now we just need to wait into the Underdark, and going through the Goblin camp would cause us to face a slog of enemies. I decided to go via the Spider Pit, and descended into the darkness to battle the little spiders before reaching the Matriarch. I used 2 Alchemist Fires to take out piles of eggs, and began the fight by beating the ever-loving shit out of one of the spiders, surprising all of them. I also forgot that fall damage is a percentage of health based on the size, and dropping the Matriarch down deals almost 150 damage to it. We shove the other spider into the nearby chasm, and make sure to destroy the last batch of eggs with a fire glyph of warding. Because the Matriarch cannot use her legendary action when there's no spiders, we just use Command Grovel repeatedly to keep her locked down, allowing us to win by Eldritch blasting her off the ledge to her death. We claim the gemstone, and using Featherfall and a bit of stealth, reach the Myconid colony to trade with the vendors. This is where we break Faerun's economy with 2 backpacks and a dead rat. We kill a rat in the Goblin camp and loot the rat to basically recreate the patch 6 exploit backpack glitch with an extra step. Thank you, Morganna Evelynn, for saving this entire run. We can now just take absolutely everything and stock up on potions and scrolls over a few long rests. We get level 7 here, and unlock 4th level spells for the spellcasters in our party. But even with a level 7, in a normally level 4 to 5 area, we can still get absolutely destroyed by any group of enemies we aren't prepared for. Like a single hook horror with 338 HP. But 1 hook horror isn't bad, so how about it summoning 6 more 338 HP hook horrors in a location with a chasm 100 feet from us? We had Glut revive one of the hook horrors, but we were massacred and had to turn invisible to escape. Gale was killed in it, and there was a weird bug when I revived him. The necrotic aura he emits on death didn't go away. I'd never seen this bug before, so I had to capitalize on it while I had it. So I had Gale equip Falour Alluve, and Karlach picked up Aspect of the Elk to give Gale bonus movement speed. I had Gale activate Falour Alluve's Shriek before walking to the Duergar. I just chose to attack them, and by walking back and forth, I was able to deal between 2 and 8 damage per time as they entered his necrosis aura. I positioned Karlach so that when Gale walked away, he would enter her aura to give him more movement. This allowed us to basically get infinite movement, which equals infinite damage. We annihilated the Duergar in a single turn with only movement speed, and a haste potion. After the Duergar were dead, we defeated some spiders and misclick to attack Glut. Thankfully, he's the only hostile enemy, as a Spore Servant attacks him as well. It's just sick of his shit, I guess. Once he was dead, I headed into the mountain pass, and Raphael showed up in camp. We use a non-lethal attack to knock him out and take the Helldusk armor, but doing this angers the Oathbreaker Knight, and he attacks all of us. Yeah, I completely forgot that the Oathbreaker Knight was just standing there and witnessed us knock out Raphael. He has 996 HP, has Crown of Madness, and absolutely broken Divine Smite, basically able to drop us in a single turn. Thankfully, the other companions at camp rushed to take our side, and together we shredded the knight in 4 turns. Though whenever it was his turn, I nearly died out of fear he would crit smite me to death. This would cause some problems later, but don't worry about that. Now that we had the Helldusk armor that reduces damage even more, grants burn immunity, and flight, we crossed the lake into Grimforge, where we needed a few things. As usual, we ally with Brithvar, and using jump potions, leap past the ooze fight to reach Philomene. She's threatening to blow us all up. Oh yeah? With what rune powder? We make sure to steal both the vial and the barrel before killing her. We needed to level the sides before the conflict broke out between the Durge and cultists. It just so happens that there's another very easy way to win fight with small creatures. I just used the improvised weapon trick from no healing to bring enemies toward the lake and just chuck them in. We get in a few fights before setting down the explosives to free Nier. I've been fearing this fight in particular, as even with our dwarven allies, Nier is not to be trifled with. Why did I worry? I touched the archer on the overpass off the cliff and we freed Nier. Even on 10 times the hardest difficulty, Nier was still just as worthless, if not a little more than regular honor mode. The Duergar began fighting each other, and I wanted to test just how hard Nier actually was. So I just cast Sanctuary on everyone and watched as the rebels fought for their lives. Though I kind of forgot that the Psionic Blast from Nier's legendary action bursts where the attacker is, so when Stoneguard Kur attacked Nier, it blasted Will and Shadowheart into the lava, where they promptly burned to death. Nier was quickly the only one left, and he too went down after poor use of his legendary action. Attempts to convince Brithvar to let the slaves go also failed, so we attacked them as well, and dealt with what little remained of them. You might also notice that I am no longer using Sanctum, and it's because I found Baldur's Giant Slayer on the corpses of a mimic I killed, but I lost the footage of me killing the mimics. So enjoy this dramatic recreation of me killing the mimics. We also equipped Lae'zel with the Lore Maris and a vicious short sword, allowing her to deal massive damage on crits. We loot Nier for the disintegrating Nightwalk. Right, I forgot about that. Before leaving, we also needed to take on Grim, who I thought would be the hardest fight in the game, until I realized I could beat it solo, and I did beat it solo on my no healing challenge. On the way, we fight some hellbeasts and constructs that shove Lae'zel like a million meters before we're able to eliminate them. There was apparently another Forge Guardian blocking the way with over 1,000 health, so we used repeated Call Lightnings from Will, and knocked it down for more damage. It could still retaliate with a Static Discharge legendary action, but that breaks its movement, and I think it's supposed to be on Bernard? Hence explaining why it was very delayed. But even with Lae'zel dead, we still beat it in combat, easily I might add, and I dismissed all my companions before putting in the mithril and shield mold we picked up earlier. Then I flipped the Forge Hammer to bring us lower into the forge. I then waypointed up to the stair ledge above, and activated Grim from up top. Grim has over 1,300 health, deals insane damage, and has resistance to almost everything, so how are we going to defeat him? With Connor, of course. We just constantly baited him under the Forge Hammer, and since the difficulty mod affects Connor, he too could survive a hit from Grim, allowing me to drop the hammer on him again and again and again. Yeah, that fight was never going to be hard if we're allowed to choose it. That about finishes everything in the Underdark. We head into the mountain pass again, and I say goodbye to Paladin, as even though it deals very good damage, the damage and usefulness won't increase as the enemy difficulty increases. I went to Withers, and he won't let me respec as I have broken my oath. Oh shit. Turns out that killing the mythical Oathbreaker Knight did have consequence, as I couldn't respec again, and had to reload back almost 4 hours, and complete everything in Underdark. Again. Oh, here we are, 4 hours later. Finally, we can talk to Withers. We respec into Sorcerer to focus on a fire build, since we're immune to burning from the Helldusk armor, and go with the Draconic Bloodline, so we deal extra damage on all of our fire attacks. We also hit level 8 when entering the mountain pass, allowing us to get another feat, which went to Warcaster and Tough for everyone. We fought some Gith and Kobolds, before realizing the Gith aren't hostile and can kill all the Kobolds for us. So we used that time to just run straight into the Creche, where we bully some Githyanki to get past them, and run into the main hall, which triggers a fight with the entire Creche. In reality, it was just against some extra Gith and Lathander devotees that the mod pack adds, but I assumed everyone was hostile, and promptly attacked one of the Githyanki. This promptly aggroed every Githyanki in the Creche, and we were killed after a few turns. Reset. Much to my utter shock, after 3 reloads, when I started by hasting the OP Arcane Cannon and nearly defeated all the Gith, I began to notice that this fight broke some things. When Will cast fire, it burned a Githyanki to death as they just refused to leave the wall of fire. But this time, I was much more prepared. I ran all my companions into the Kithrak's office, and the Lathanderites wouldn't target regular Gith until all the additional ones were dead. So, we went for those ones first. There were a ton of enemies, and I dominated a warrior to help keep Judge Mikkel alive. This about peaks at the time I have Lae'zel open a box and accidentally click space to take all 4 apples, angering every single person in the crash. I got everyone to the office except Lae'zel, and watched as the biggest battle I've ever seen really gets going. Oh boy, that was a long one. As you can tell. We insert the gift shard into the portal, and even though the Inquisitor is standing directly right there because combat broke as a result of us entering the Kithrak's office, he tells us to go meet with him. So, we do, and we walk into him, causing him to immediately attack us. He is very powerful, so we run back the way we came to merge combat with the Lithanderans, all of which survive the battle. Things aren't all great though, as when we all group up to fight him, he lands a Mind Steel Tempest to bring his AC up to 28, making almost no attack hit him. He also summons so many annoying Mind Claws whenever he or an ally is attacked. The cannon deals with the other 4, allowing us to focus Wargasm. It only takes another 15 minutes of endlessly trying to hit an Inquisitor, that is as hard to hit as my character from No Healing, to take him out, as his minions go down very quickly, leveling us up to 10. Yes, these 2 fights got us all the way up from level 8 to level 10 because of the sheer quantity of enemies. We steal the Blood of the Thunder, only to realize there were harpies on the roof as well from the mod pack, and they used Luring Song on my character, even from 2 floors down. My other characters died to the harpies, and thankfully since my character was on the causeway when my turn ended, I was safe from the blast even though no cutscene played of me escaping. We snuck past the Death Shepherds to reach Act 2, beating Baldur's Gate 3 on 10 times the hardest difficulty. I hope you enjoyed, and leave a comment below if you want me to make the next act of the video harder, since the difficulty mods I used are modifiable without breaking my save game. Please subscribe if you haven't. It's been legendary, and I'll see you later.